Welcome to day 3 of our very fun week of Webisodes. It's a summer look, and we have 2 of our favorite things, which are cutting dies with matching stamps.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
And they're all botanical. Botanical blooms, botanical leaves, and they fit together perfectly.
And they are stunning. Come play with us. Here they are.
Ta-da! Botanical Blooms cutting dies and Botanical Blooms stamp set.
And Botanical Leaves cutting die and stamp set. Now we're going to start with the blooms.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll get in close to these.
Bloom.
Now these are, as you've come to expect, hot off the press. They are wafer thin. They're going to cut perfectly any machine you have. The stamps are silicone. There are 21 on this sheet. And wait until you can see. And on the back, there are projects, and we'll be showing you. Actually, we don't have these 2, but we'll be showing you some different ones.
You'll be seeing some other ones. And the incredible thing about these is that the cutting dies are going to cut out the shapes that you see that you can stamp. So you can stamp, you can cut them out without having to fussy cut. Or you can just use the stamps by themselves.
Yeah, and let's start with the stamp. Now, you saw on that sheet, or hopefully you did, there's one that is very complete, and then there are bits and pieces. So the words are separate, which is always so great because you don't have to go elsewhere to find them. They're right on the stamp set. But here is that one gorgeous, finished, beautiful stamp.
That one large, very large block. So all in one piece, you're going to get this. You're going to get that background, that beautiful flower, and then you can just color in parts of it. I love that parts of this are left white, and that the rest of it is colored in with the watercolor pencils. And these are using, I believe, the greens and the blues for this one.
How and that looks like this when you get them. These are the Faber-Castell.
You get 9 in the set, in each set, plus you get that very pointed little watercolor brush, and it's just perfect. You color them in first with the pencils, then add just a little bit of water with the brush and blend them together.
Isn't that just stunning?
It is.
2 different papers on the front, a ribbon, and then on the inside just one of the blossoms. And again, a little bit of computer journaling right there, and mimicking the technique with the ribbon on the front.
For the inside, I want to point out that there is not a stamp that has the flower and the leaf together. So you have to stamp one of the flowers, so like maybe this one, and you have to stamp the leaf separately.
So that combines together. So you get all of those options. So that one large stamp and then lots of individual options, both with words and images.
So just using the stamps alone.
That's what you have. If you want to use the cutting die alone,
that works.
There's the one large blossom, and we've done this out of suede paper. This is the suede purple. I think it's called Iris, and it does have the dazzle in the center, but isn't that stunning? And I think it's really neat to use it on that window, and we've brought in the design tool number 10.
So in the front of your card, first you're going to cover the front of your card with paper.
You mean step 1?
Step 1, cover your card with paper. Then use the design tool to trace and cut out the window that you see. And on there somewhere, I think it's Patsy.
I think it is.
For Patsy.
Here's Patsy. So right there, you can see it's the darker one. These are kind of nested.
So you'll go ahead and cut that out, and then on the back of that, you're just going to place a piece of acetate, and you can see that's zotted outside of that so that you don't see that through the window, and then just a piece of paper on the inside with an extra little embellishment here.
And you're going to see in the gallery where it's going to call for, it might be this one, which is an acetate that has words at the top, perfect coming into Father's Day, and a lot of acetate that is extra. So this really gives you a generous amount of acetate to use for a window card just like that.
So there's that beautiful window card with just the cutting dies on the front, and then an extra small one down here. A little bit of a happy birthday play with those tiny words and phrases.
Yes, these are the dazzles. So the Make-A-Wish and the Happy Birthday comes from there. And that does a really nice job. So you can see really striking. Now, to combine them, let's get ready to do that. Here is an example. So you can see the depth as we get in closer, where we have stamped the whole image and then done the die cutting around just that blossom.
I've got to show you how that's done, but I do love the stacking of that. You've actually got 3 layers there, so that if I bring this in, you'll see that it's been stamped 3 times on ivory cardstock. 3 separate times. This one is going to be in the background.
So that's your base.
This is your base. Then you stamp again. Oh, and this is done with chambray fluid chalk ink. It's just a beautiful sort of a powder
denim
blue. Yeah, there you go, denim blue. Stamp it again. And this time you're going to cut out around that outer oval, even the flower. You don't have to cut around the edges of the flower. Just cut out that oval. That is going to get foam taped on top of there, so that'll give you lift. Then you stamp again, and now you're going to use the cutting die. You're going to place the cutting die on top of that, run it through your die cutting machine, and it will cut out the flower from the center of that image.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
And you should go ta-da!
And then you can layer that on top, and that really gives you some nice shadows, and it's going to match, obviously, that stamped image perfectly like paper towel.
And then we've also added, you can see the shine, keeping in the same color, and that is with the glitter embossing powder. This is the Wow Blue Glitz, which is appropriately named. And you can see, just really let you see that indentation there, that evacuated area, as well as a little bit on those flourishes on the edges.
And I always love that you get sentiments with our stamp set, so you got what you need right there. Go ahead and stamp and emboss with that glitter, thinking of you. Just beautiful.
Now the blue paper, the solid blue, is a glimmer paper. So again, that's just a nice, it's a sheen rather than, it's certainly not a holographic
so
or a glitter.
So it's not going to overpower the work that you've done creating this beautiful piece.
It's going to support it. And then on the inside, isn't that pretty? Turning that on its side.
Just gorgeous.
So that's that same piece die cut and just layered, a couple of them.
And then die cut and stamped, and here are the other die cuts that you get. So you're getting these smaller flowers to support those larger flowers. That's great. That's just beautiful. Now, there are 2 ways of doing that, by the way. You can stamp them first and then line up the die cuts, and I prefer to do it personally the other way. I'll do the die cuts and then I'll stamp on top of them. But that's what's great about our stamps. They're see-through. You put them on an acrylic block so you can see through that too, and you can line them up perfectly.
You know, I think also, before I close this card, this could be a card front.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just lovely.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so great. Now, if you want to use just the leaves, there is another option for you. A lot of stamping, as you can see, but also doing the die cutting and then the stamping, as you said.
This is a fun look, and what I like about it, it sort of makes it look 3D, or you've got shadows, because first the stamping in brown with the leaves, and then off stamping and stamping again gets you a lighter color.
It does, just really pretty. That Happy Birthday was stamped into circles that were cut with our ever favorite 8 circles and scallops.
Did you guess it already?
You should have if you didn't. But just a really nice, and again, a very masculine look. So just that's nice to have in something that's called Botanical Blooms. So that's very fun.
Oh,
so
I love that off of the edge like
isn't that
that.
Pretty?
And then just some strategically placed where you're going to put that with love.
So we did the leaves by themselves. Well, how about the flowers by themselves? That only seems fair.
Right.
So you can see just a really wonderful cluster. A nice size of flower, by the way.
It is. It's nice and large, and just do a bunch of them in a bunch of different colors. Add the little leaves behind and just some jewel dazzles on the center.
And because there's a cutting die, no, you don't have to cut those out. You can simply run it through your machine.
That's right. I mean, I know people who will cut out. I know people.
You are people.
I do. I am people who cut out, you know, very fussy cut around these. So when you see this, it's just like, oh great, I don't have to cut all those out.
And the leaves are also, of course, stamped and die cut. We did add the teal dazzles in the center. And then in the center of the card, just having that wonderful paper and just one blossom and just a little bit of adding with the swirls.
Right, the swirls, which are part of the stamp set. You're going to get these swirls so you can do corner treatments, swirls, lots of tinier little leaves. There's a lot to this stamp set just on its own.
And then we're going to shift into the botanical leaves. So,
okay, so we have botanical blooms and we have botanical leaves. And both very botanical in nature and both incredibly detailed with that intricate artwork. I mean, you don't see that in every stamp that you see. I love the background. I love the architectural piece here on the, can you tell I like this one? The shading with all of the scroll work, absolutely beautiful.
So what is unique about these two collections is that you are getting the one highly detailed stamp, but then you get all the other pieces that you can use with it or separately, and then you get the greeting. So lots going on.
And even with the leaves, as far as the cutting die, you've got that large leaf piece, which is, you're going to see, suits this center exactly. When you flip that over, it's going to be able to cut that out. But it's also got these supporting leaves, and it's got several different designs for those same leaves. You can use this one, you can use that one, you can use these with the text on them. So lots of fun.
And as always, you are going to see ideas on the back, and we'll show you, actually we do have some of those. But we're going to start first with the stamp, all by itself, just like we did with the botanical blooms.
Again, so, with the stamp set, but it's because it's such a beautiful focal. You can use that all by itself, add a sentiment, and that's done with the shimmer paint, the watercolor shimmer paint.
Yes, right.
And there are some fabulous sets of those shimmer paints, and the shimmer just sits on top of the paper. Super easy to paint that in, use a little bit of water.
And actually, talking about the shimmer paints, the manufacturer, I've been emailing with her actually this morning, and they are having trouble staying in stock, but they're holding some for us, and some will be coming shortly, so middle of June. So there we go. We have just the stamp, beautifully done, and isn't this just elegant?
It is.
Very elegant look.
Just off
on the inside. Isn't that pretty for you?
This was done on watercolor paper too. So, which is, you can see the quality quality of our stamps they are not so hard that when you press onto a textured paper like that, they're still going to press all the way down and give you a nice imprint with all that detail.
Just beautiful. Okay, so stamp by itself, equal time, cutting die by itself. And isn't this stunning?
It is. Just that cutting die with pieces behind it, behind those leaves as well. You've got that beautiful black. And it's done with embossing powder. And I can show you the elements.
Please do.
Okay, I'm not going to emboss it, but I am going to show you how that was done. We've got the cutout of the leaves. And then you want to save...
Isn't that beautiful?
Isn't that beautiful? Trust me, you want to save the innie pieces because we're going to see that in a moment too. But hold on to that large shape piece. This is the piece you're going to emboss. You're also going to cut out 3 of the leaves. They're going to go behind these after they're embossed. So after you cut this, you take your Versamark, you use it all over that cut piece. I would do this after you cut it. Don't do it before you use your cutting die because it will break the embossing up after you cut it. So you do that. Now you're going to sprinkle it with the copper wow, metallic copper wow embossing powder. Sprinkle it all over it, and then you're going to...
You're not going to do that?
I wasn't going to. Would you like to see me do that?
I would like to see you do that.
All right.
Here, I'll bring in a piece.
I'm doing specialty paper with
I know.
All right.
Just live wild, woman.
We will, if you say so. So there is the embossing powder sprinkled liberally all over this piece. And then you're going to emboss it. And I'm going to shake it off just a little bit. So this is what it looks like before you emboss it. I'm going to grab my heat gun real quick, make sure that it's on. I love this new heat gun.
I know, we're so excited by this.
The Heat It craft tool, you can get that on our site, and it's you hear me talking over it for one thing, so that's amazing and wonderful.
It also doesn't blow
It
your
doesn't
embossing
blow.
powder.
You see that it's not, I mean, it does blow a little bit, but it doesn't blow, you know, the way other heat guns will. And so trying to get you so that you can see. So anyway, you go over the whole thing. It takes a little bit to get the entire thing heated, but you see the effect. So I might actually just stop there.
Okay.
And so bring in the finished
I do have
piece.
to tell you, the first time I did that, and I think it was on one of Teresa's stamping DVDs, I thought it was so brilliant because I never thought about taking that very fine piece of just cardstock and being able to do the heat embossing. It just never occurred to me.
You know, you can do heat embossing on buttons, on foiled fancies, on anything, any small little item. You can add heat embossing powder to and heat emboss, and it's just such a great effect. So there's that piece that was heat embossed, and behind each one, because we have the cutting dies, we're able to cut out the leaves and place it behind there, and that's why it's so dark behind those open areas.
So you really see the depth of that opening.
Okay, now I'm holding on to this little piece, waiting for you to open the card.
Here I am, opening the card.
So emboss these as well. Place them on top of one of those black leaves, and now you've got the veins. Now you've got the opposite of what we saw on the front.
Very, very pretty. Isn't that gorgeous? In the back, well, on the inside as well as the front of the card, the mocha ripple paper has been used, and it is just a stunning complement to the copper that was used.
Oh, yeah, that's the Bohemian Dreams paper.
Yes,
so
isn't it
beautiful?
It is, it is. And that little happy birthday there was cut using the tiny tags and little labels template.
Right.
So
now see, you're looking at this big template and say, why would I use a big template on just one thing on a cart? Because now you've got this for everything you do.
So there. Okay, duly noted. Now we've done the stamp, we've done the cutting die.
Put them together.
We're going to put them together and look at this beauty. And that's what I'm so excited about this set. It is just stunning, absolutely stunning. So you've got your stamp there. Not much coloring going on,
not really,
just a bit.
But it gives it that vintage feel. I mean, that looks like an old catalog piece to me. It just like it's straight out of an old-fashioned catalog.
Very stylish.
Absolutely beautiful. And that is the stamp itself, just inked in a little bit. Then in the background here we have the leaves. The cutting die was used to cut this piece out of pattern paper, and then the individual leaves were cut and stamped and inked, and this is the creation that you get.
Isn't that beautiful? Just gorgeous.
It is beautiful. I want to show you just a little bit. I'm going to show you the leaves in particular. These are the leaves that you get with the cutting dies. I went ahead and cut those leaves, and I have one of the stamps so that I can show you. For this case in particular, a jet black StazOn was used just for the stamping of the leaves. Right. So I've got that here. I'm going to ink that up. And this is the nice part, is that you can just look on top of it and see where you're going to stamp. And there you go. I'm going to peel that off. And you can get it pretty perfectly stamped if you're able to look right down on top of it and do that.
As opposed to an angle, which you were just doing.
I have that at an angle. So I've got one of the finger daubers here. It's one of my favorite
It's called an art dauber.
An art dauber,
but
that's
you do
right.
put it on your finger.
Sometimes I call it a Pam dauber just for fun. So there's the brown. I want to get a little bit of that ink off and just sort of touch the center of it and move the color out a little bit more off. I don't want too much on there. Just sort of move it out to the edge. It gives that nice little, like a tea-stained look.
Yeah, but a controlled tea stain.
Right.
So there it is on the card, just lovely. And using the swirl against the greeting, so very grateful. And we'll back up. We did add some gold jewel dazzles just to give a little bit of shine. And there's no inside, sorry. I'm not gonna do that.
Well, look at that.
There you go.
That's all you need.
We didn't need it. Okay, scrapbookers, we never forget about you, but I'm hoping you can see this because I think this is so stunning. We're gonna get in closer because it's been very lightly stamped. As we get in closer to that absolutely charming little child, you can see the edges.
Isn't that beautiful?
Isn't that pretty?
On black, I love that it's sort of ghosted, and that's done with a combination of pigment ink and a StazOn cotton white ink, and I've got both of those here. So it is beautiful.
Hi,
going
Mandy Mae.
around. Plus the little girl is just adorable.
Yes.
So we've got cotton white stays on, and we've got some of our new pigment inks from Colorbox, and this one is apple mint.
Okay.
And that's what was used, and it just gives that green that you're seeing there, it just gives like a hint of it. So you've got those green leaves, and that's what you're going to do first on this page. You're going to do stamping. You've got the leaves. I'm sure that I would start with that large stamped image, stamp that in white, and then use the green, because let's see, on the stamp set, I'm going to grab it, there is a border piece right here. So I actually drew a very light pencil line here first, and then just started stamping that border across and then down so that I could get my lines straight.
Okay.
So you stamp those, figure out where your photo is going to go, and stamp some corners that are going to be right under the edges. Lots more leaves, and then cut out and stamp the images of the leaves here in the apple mint as well.
And what I love about this layout is, just think about it. You can highlight any person with this layout.
Right.
Change the color depending on what color they're
Yeah,
wearing.
right.
But for a couple, for a man,
Right.
for a wedding.
Right.
I mean, it's just actually
for a
timeless.
new baby, for
Yeah.
a grandma, for anything.
Yeah.
It's just that you've got this beautiful piece here surrounding, and plus cut away the edges of this background and slide that photo under there, and you've got, I mean, it looks
It's
like
stunning.
it looks like this piece is sitting on top, but it was stamped on the background, and then you just cut that, and you don't have to have any additional pieces.
So just a beautiful, and now we have one more. We're going back to our cards, and here it is. This is using both the stamp and the cutting die, and as we
Right.
get in close, I want you to be able to see the area that has been cut out.
And it's actually, it's like it's debossed, because
Yes.
it's been cut away and it's set down in there. This is a very unique look, and it's done by stamping and embossing on the top.
Okay, the paper that was used is this mottled red, and it's sold by the sheet. And so that is what has been used. So just
Right.
wanted to tell you that. You're going to show us?
I am going to show you. You're going to start with the paper that's in the background. You're going to use the cutting die and cut it out first. Center it as much as you can in the center. Now, once you cut that out, save that piece. You're going to glue it to the front of your card. So I know this seems strange, but this is how if we bring that in, this is how this starts. So you've got in the background, you've got this piece, you can see the white through those veins, that is that piece. Then we're going to stamp and emboss over this. The reason we do that is so that we know, whoops, let me get it out of the way here, so that we know right where to do the stamping.
Okay.
So it's so much
So
easier.
this turns into this.
This turns into this.
Actually,
I mean,
those are the three
you
steps.
put scrap paper underneath here, go ahead and stamp through that, but you're going to be able to line your stamp up over those cut images so you know right where to stamp.
Gorgeous.
And you're going to stamp using Versamark and then superfine white embossing powder. Once you get that embossed, you bring this card back in, you line it up and foam tape it up above.
Wow.
And that is the look
It
you're
looks
going
harder
to get.
than that.
I do have to mention, what I
Yeah.
didn't do is that you have to hold on to this piece
Okay.
when you
you're
do
stamping?
this. Right. When
Okay.
when you're cutting this out, you have to hold on to that center piece, or
Okay.
you lose that.
And there it goes. So doing, as you've just said, all we've done is added ribbon and a little rectangle with the message that's part of the stamp set.
Right.
And then on the inside, isn't that pretty? Having those leaves just going against the thinking
Those
of
leaves
you.
are just perfect little embellishments. Just add a little here and there, and they add a lot, just as small as they are.
Now, I know that the words I kept using was stunning, but there's just nothing else. They're
I
just
agree.
absolutely
They
wonderful.
are stunning. So kudos to Graphic Design for
Yes.
coming up with these
Yes.
amazing stamp and cutting die sets.
And please join us tomorrow, day 4 of our week of Webisodes. We'll have new treasures for you.
Yay!